Amy was in shock when she realized her water had broken and urgently said to Henry, "I think my water just broke. We need to get to the hospital." Henry, however, seemed unfazed and distastefully responded, "That's disgusting. Just figure out a way to have the baby." Holding a large bag and moving towards the door, he announced, "I'm off on a trip now. Just handle it somehow." Amy couldn't believe what she was hearing. How can he say handle it somehow? I can't possibly go to the hospital by myself in this condition. At the very least, he could call a taxi, she thought. But Henry refused, claiming it was too much of a bother, and questioned if she could just give birth without causing inconvenience to others. Then he left, slamming the door behind him, leaving Amy alone and anxious, cradling her belly. The room felt eerily cold despite her sweating. The thought of her husband leaving her alone in such a crucial moment was beyond her comprehension. She had never envisioned facing such a situation during her pregnancy. The disappointment and resentment towards Henry seemed to solidify into a permanent grudge. Reflecting on her life, Amy, a 26-year-old office worker, recalled marrying Henry, her college mate, immediately after graduation. Despite Henry's local roots and her distant hometown, their desire to stay together overrode the logistics, leading to their marriage. The news of their marriage was well received by Henry's numerous local friends, reflecting their life in a typical regional city, a mix of urban and rural landscapes. Henry's parents were divorced, and his mother, living alone in the suburbs, welcomed Amy warmly into the family. She often shared produce from her garden, endearing herself to Amy and making her appreciate her new family even more. However, Henry's behavior changed after Amy became pregnant. He grew irritable and distant, with his late work hours and frequent business trips reducing their time together. Initially, he showed excitement about the baby, wanting to buy clothes, furniture, and toys suited for older children. His enthusiasm, especially noticeable on the days he worked late and returned home to cook with vigor, was a sharp contrast to his recent indifference. Amy, accustomed to her mother's cooking and now experiencing different food preferences due to her pregnancy, found Henry's meals too rich and often uneatable, gently declining his efforts to avoid waste. She missed the harmony they once shared, now overshadowed by Henry's inexplicable absence at their most critical moment. When Henry reacted angrily to my honest admission about his food not suiting my pregnant body, I was stunned and hurt, especially when he slapped me. I tried to explain that my body was reacting differently because of the pregnancy, but he dismissed my feelings, comparing me to his colleagues who were also pregnant but had no issues. His lack of understanding and compassion left a painful mark, both physically and emotionally. I wanted to defend myself and explain how everyone's pregnancy experience is unique, but I feared escalating the situation. Henry's frustration seemed to stem from his perception that I was wasting money by not eating the food he prepared. When he accused me of being stingy and took away the food, I felt even more isolated, with my thoughts and worries keeping me awake at night. Following this incident, Henry stopped attempting to cook and opted to eat out more frequently, often without informing me, exacerbating our financial strain as he demanded more money for his meals outside. As my pregnancy progressed, my health and anxiety prompted me to start my maternity leave earlier than planned. Henry's sarcastic remarks about me being lazy added to my stress. Despite his view that housework was inconsequential, I continued to manage our home as best as I could, alongside coping with the physical and emotional challenges of pregnancy. My friend Barbara, who had always been like a sister to me, called one evening to check in. She revealed that our company, where Henry also worked, enforced a no overtime policy on Wednesdays, contradicting Henry's claims of working late. This information puzzled me and sowed seeds of doubt about Henry's honesty. That same night, after Henry came home late again, an accidental glance at his phone revealed messages with heart emojis from someone else. This was a stark contrast to our interactions and ignited suspicions of an affair. Caught in the moment and confronted by Henry for allegedly snooping, I was overwhelmed by a mix of betrayal, confusion, and a growing sense of isolation. The complexities of my pregnancy were now compounded by the worry of what these messages meant for our relationship. While trying to tidy up after an unexpected glimpse into Henry's private messages raised my suspicions, I accidentally dropped his phone. I was merely checking for any damage when Henry erupted in frustration, berating me for my clumsiness and accusing me of neglecting my chores. Despite his phone already having a cracked screen, he claimed I had added a new scratch, further criticizing my ability to manage household tasks and accusing me of attempting to damage his belongings. His reaction only added to the tension, especially when he stormed off, presumably to protect his phone from further accidents. Amidst these troubles, I found a small comfort in the anticipation of a visit from Henry's mother. She planned to bring fresh produce from her garden and offer her wisdom on childbirth, which I looked forward to amidst the coldness I felt from Henry. On the day of her visit, I went to great lengths to prepare the house, even applying makeup to present myself well. Unexpectedly, Henry was home that day, seemingly preparing for a trip. When I questioned him about his plans, especially since his mother was due to arrive, he seemed oblivious to our prior conversation. Before I could press further on the matter, a sudden sharp pain signaled the onset of labor, prompting an urgent need for the hospital. However, Henry's reaction to my water breaking was dismissive and insensitive, equating it to a mere inconvenience. In a surprising twist, he appeared to show a glimmer of consideration by calling a taxi, leading me to momentarily believe he still harbored some care for our situation. Yet, this hope was quickly dashed when he claimed the taxi for himself, leaving me in a vulnerable state as he departed for his plans. Stranded and in pain, the arrival of Henry's mother at the door was a beacon of hope. She immediately understood the severity of the situation and rushed me to the hospital. Her timely intervention contrasted sharply with Henry's neglect, highlighting the stark difference in their responses to my dire need for support. After the chaotic rush to the hospital, I found myself in a peaceful moment, cradling my newborn baby. The turmoil preceding our arrival seemed distant as I looked into the innocent eyes of my child, who was blissfully unaware of the stormy events that had led to this moment of tranquility. The baby was healthy and vibrant, a small miracle that brought a sigh of relief from my tired soul. As I recuperated in the hospital room, my mother-in-law visited, bringing food and concern. She was puzzled to find me alone, especially after Henry had supposedly taken the day off to be with me. Her shock deepened as I recounted how Henry had left on a supposed trip right before my labor began, and how he callously told me to handle the birth on my own before abandoning me. Her anger at this revelation was a new side to her I hadn't seen before, her gentle demeanor replaced by rightful indignation. The reality of the situation hit hard the following day when my parents arrived from our hometown. Sharing the full story with them was difficult, and reaching out to Barbara, my close friend and Henry's colleague, brought additional insights. Barbara's reaction to the news was one of fury and concern. She came to visit, despite the usual reservations about visiting so soon after birth, because I had important matters to discuss. During her visit, the conversation took a serious turn. Barbara, hesitant in the presence of my mother-in-law, suggested that I consider divorcee, a heavy recommendation given the circumstances. She then revealed her suspicions about Henry's fidelity, mentioning a colleague named Rachel, with whom Henry appeared unusually close. Barbara had witnessed them together outside of work, hinting at a relationship that went beyond professional boundaries. This potential affair, coupled with his abandonment at a critical time, painted a grim picture of my marriage's future. Both my mother-in-law and Barbara assured me of their support, offering practical solutions and emotional backing. They proposed that I move out of the house I shared with Henry, offering their homes as safe havens. Overwhelmed by their generosity, I accepted my mother-in-law's offer to stay with her temporarily. This transition was not easy. Moving my belongings and adjusting to a new living situation while recovering from childbirth and caring for a newborn was daunting. Yet, the solidarity shown by my mother-in-law and Barbara provided a foundation of support, enabling me to face the challenges ahead with a sense of hope and determination. Their willingness to help, from moving my things to offering a place to stay, underscored the value of the familial and friendship bonds that sustained me through this tumultuous period. Their generosity was a beacon of light during a tumultuous time. My mother-in-law was always delighted to visit her grandchild, and Barbara, who provided invaluable help with the move, showed me a level of kindness and support that was both overwhelming and heartening. The room my belongings were moved into at my mother-in-law's house was not only spacious but also welcoming, a testament to her and Barbara's efforts to make me feel comfortable. During one of our conversations in the hospital, a call from Henry interrupted us. My mother-in-law's silent gesture to ignore the call spoke volumes of her feelings toward him. She seemed to have lost all hope in her son, a sentiment I was slowly coming to terms with. Despite my reluctance, I answered the call on speaker, revealing to Henry that I was at the hospital but couldn't engage in a lengthy conversation. His reaction to the news of our baby's birth and his ignorance of our current situation was telling. His insistence on his rights as a father after abandoning me in labor only fueled my resolve to distance myself from him. Even as he tried to deny accusations of an affair, his defensive posture did little to conceal the truth. My mother-in-law's disappointment was palpable, and her apology, attributing Henry's behavior to her failure in raising him, broke my heart. She even revealed the painful reason behind her divorce from Henry's father, drawing a parallel that chilled me. But it was her actions the next day that surprised me the most. She organized a gathering at my home, bringing together Henry, his supposed mistress Rachel, and Barbara. Via a video call from Barbara, I witnessed this confrontation, an attempt to bring the truth to light. Henry's feeble excuses and attempt to justify his actions were met with disgust and disbelief. Barbara's indignation at his reasoning echoed my feelings of betrayal. As the reality of Henry's infidelity and neglect came crashing down, it became clear that the support of my mother-in-law and Barbara was invaluable. They stood by me, not just with words, but with actions that showed a deep commitment to my well-being and that of my child. In the face of Henry's failings, their solidarity and readiness to confront him provided a stark contrast and a reminder of the strength found in true familial bonds and friendship. Amid a heated confrontation, the room fell silent as Barbara vehemently rebuked Henry's flimsy justification for his actions, challenging the stereotype he tried to hide behind. Her fury underscored the gravity of the betrayal, making clear that not all men resort to such deceit. Henry, cornered and desperate, threatened legal action, but his bluff was called when Barbara presented concrete evidence of his affair with Rachel, including heartfelt messages and photos that left no room for doubt. The discovery of the affair, especially during such a vulnerable time in my life, left me reeling. The thought of Henry prioritizing his mistress over our family's safety during my labor was unforgivable. Faced with undeniable proof, I made the painful decision to end our marriage, supported by my mother-in-law and Barbara, whose applause echoed my resolve. Henry's pathetic attempt to justify his infidelity and absence during our child's birth further solidified my decision. His claim that Rachel was more important to him at the time was a stark admission of where his priorities lay, revealing a lack of humanity in his actions. The dramatic revelation took another turn with the unexpected arrival of Rachel's husband. His entrance introduced a new layer of complexity, exposing Rachel's deceit not only toward me, but also toward her own family. Confronted with the affair, Rachel's husband was understandably distraught, especially after learning of her pregnancy, which added to the tangled web of lies and betrayal. Rachel's situation grew even more complicated with the revelation of her existing family and her intentions to conceal her second pregnancy. Her husband's decision to distance himself and take responsibility for their daughter highlighted the deep wounds inflicted by her actions. Henry's audacious declaration to marry Rachel and raise the child together in the face of the chaos and hurt they caused was a stark reminder of his misplaced priorities and failure to grasp the gravity of the situation. This tumultuous gathering not only cemented my decision to move forward with the divorce, but also underscored the importance of seeking a future built on respect, trust, and genuine care, far removed from the deceit and betrayal that had come to define my marriage to Henry. In the heat of a tense confrontation, Rachel's husband strategically introduced divorce papers, a move that momentarily caught Henry off guard. The discussion quickly escalated to matters of child support and asset division, with Henry defensively arguing his financial priorities in the face of his impending responsibilities. The absurdity of his argument, blaming the pregnancy for his desire to continue a carefree lifestyle, was met with disbelief and stern rebukes from those around him, particularly my mother-in-law, who unequivocally withdrew her support for him. As the argument unfolded, it was resolved that I would seek child support from Henry, a decision echoed by Rachel's husband regarding his situation. With the lawyer's contact provided by Rachel's husband, we were prepared to take immediate legal action. My mother-in-law and Barbara stood by as witnesses, their support unwavering. After finalizing the breastfeeding session, I signed the divorce papers, a step that, while daunting, was mitigated by the encouragement of the strong women beside me. I also requested Barbara to disseminate information about Henry's conduct within their professional network. In a community where reputation is pivotal, such revelations were bound to have significant repercussions. The impact of Barbara's actions was swift, reflecting the community's emphasis on integrity. Henry and Rachel, ostracized by their peers and stripped of professional opportunities, faced the consequences of their actions. The isolation extended beyond their professional lives, affecting personal relationships and leading to their eventual departure from the company. Amidst these tumultuous developments, I found solace in the support of my mother-in-law, whose enthusiasm for caring for her grandchild during my maternity leave was infectious. This period also allowed me to engage with nature, fostering a newfound appreciation for the serene environment of our locality. As I prepared to return to work and adapt to life in a new home with my child, the encouragement from my mother-in-law remained a source of strength. Her open invitation to seek her assistance anytime underscored the unwavering support system I had come to rely on. With a hopeful outlook, I was ready to embrace the future, grateful for the lessons learned and the resilience gained through these challenging times.